This vlog, we're going to use several of our rules we've learned recently together. As in most math problems, we don't use only one rule at a time. We tend to use several rules in conjunction to simplify these expressions. We have the product rule. We have the power rules, which has three of those. There's a power to a power. We have x squared raised to the third. We multiply the two powers together. Then we have a product to a power. It was 2x cubed to the fifth power, where we'd move the fifth power inside the parentheses, where it would be x cubed to the fifth, and then 2 to the fifth. Then we have a quotient, the power to a quotient, or a quotient to a power rule. We would move the power into the parentheses. So here, as we see, we have a parentheses, it's a quotient. Here, we have everything raised to the fifth power. And we're going to move the fifth power into the quotient. It would be 2 to the fifth, x to the fifth, and then y cubed raised to the fifth in the denominator. Now this here, we have 2 to the fifth. If I multiply it out, it's 32. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. Now we have x to the fifth. Our numerator is taken care of. In our denominator, we had y cubed raised to the fifth. So you multiply 3 times 5 and it's 15. Let's look at number B, the example B. We have p's and q's, which would need a different rule, the quotient rule, and that's going to be a future vlog. For right now, we're going to work on the power and the product rule. We have 21 over 7. We can reduce that to 3 over 1. But then p to the fourth, q squared, both in the denominator and the denominator. I can't multiply them because the bases don't match. So in the denominator, we have p and q again. Can't multiply them together because the bases don't match. So really, the only thing I can do with this problem is to reduce the number part. Now we don't in a separate vlog. What we'll do is we will subtract these powers and work on the quotient rule, but that's not for this vlog right now. Now let's look at example C. Here we have negative x squared times y, the whole quantity raised to the third power. So we're going to take the cube, the third power, and move it into the parentheses. Negative x squared raised to the third, and then y raised to the third. The denominator doesn't need to be touched. I apologize for the slanted nature of the work here, but we have negative cubed. Negative 1 cubed is a negative, so leave that as a negative. Then we, if the negative 1 was to an even power, like 2, 4, 6, or 8, the negative would become a positive. If you have negative raised to an odd power, 1, 3, 5, 7, and so forth, it remains a negative. So we have negative x to the sixth, y cubed over 2xy. And that's where we're going to leave it for this vlog. Now for D. We have the quantity, the whole quotient here, raised to the third power, which we move inside the parentheses. So we have a quotient rule and a product rule and then a power to a power rule, all using this one problem. Now, first I'm going through the quotient rule and I'm moving the cube into the numerator and denominator. Now, if I look at 3 cubed, it should be 27. 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Now, we have a power to a power, a to the fourth to the third. You multiply 4 and 3 and it's 12. Then we have a squared to the third, which is going to be a to the sixth. And as far as the b variable, we leave it as b cubed. Nothing to do there. As I said previously, we're going to leave this with the a in both the numerator and denominator. We'll work on other rules in different vlogs. Okay? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.